All right, last drive in my 2018 Camaro. Hey puppies, dogs are coming with me on this one. I'm driving to trade it in. I purposely not started it because that's one of the best parts of this car, so here we go. This thing comes like, basically, I mean, it's not quite straight piped, but it is, it's loud and it's awesome. It's got the dual mode exhaust thingamajigger, but frankly I've only left it on completely obnoxious mode. It's also got a little hill start helper, which is really nice. Obviously I got the stick shift with the rev match. There's no point in having an automatic Camaro unless you're 100 years old. Let's see what his way is telling me to go. I'm gonna go this way. Reason I'm trading in this car, I've got about, let's call it 40 grand into it, and I don't.
In half a mile, turn right on Plimpton Road.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and mute her. Yeah, I just don't drive the thing, you know, so it seems silly to keep on it. I'm going to get more of a daily driver type car in its place. You know, for 40 grand, it just doesn't, whenever I've got a car that just sits for that much money, I start getting in my head, all right, I got to replace this thing or get rid of it completely or whatever. So that's what I'm doing. I like it, actually, you know, and I'll go over why, but I don't like it $40,000 worth. I mean, I had a Trans Am WS6 before this that was obviously less refined. It didn't have Android Auto, and well, frankly, that's about it, honestly. Interior quality was pretty similar. I guess the interior in here is a little nicer, but there's also quite a lot less sort of viewing room in this car. So, and I paid $13,000 for that car. It was pushing, I think it was 410 horsepower, cams, long tubed, you know, the whole deal. And I liked that car probably more than this car. I actually sold that car to come up with a down payment for this car. And that's kind of why I'm just like, all right, it's kind of silly continuing on this thing. So, trading it in. But, so, let's talk about it. I like the steering wheel. It's got a little flat bottom on it. Comically enough, Chevrolet did not deem it necessary to get rid of the flappy paddles when they make it a stick shift. So they came up with a solution of the flappy paddles turn on or off the rev matching, which is awesome. I absolutely love rev matching. It makes me a lazier driver, but it also makes me a better driver because I have big monster feet and I can't really heel toe all that well. I really like rev matching. Interior quality on this thing, I was expecting it to be better, honestly. You know, I had a 25, my last Chevy was a 2500 Duramax that I paid $60 some odd thousand for. I put on my heated steering wheel and heated seats. One thing I love about this car is it's got all of that shit. It's got ventilated seats, heated seats. Oh, wait a second, that's not the exit element, is it? Nope. Yeah, and when I kind of bought it, I had never actually even sat in a Camaro, but got it in my head that I wanted one. And when I got in, I was like, oh, the interior's really plasticky. I mean, some of this stuff is really bad. And I was surprised at that because Chevy does know how to make really high quality interiors, but you know, parts of it are nice. I mean, the dash, I do like the dash. You know, there's sort of leather, fake leather, whatever on there, but it does look nice. The dash doesn't look particularly cheap. It is, but it doesn't look it, and that's cool with me. You know, gauge cluster looks good. It's got a big digital gauge cluster in the middle. But yeah, I mean, there are some parts of it that are just like shiny, cheap plastic that I really hate. The silver stuff here feels and looks super cheap. The lighting is, I applaud them for putting ambient lighting in there because that's all the rage these days. I don't really care for it. but I've got no problem with them having put it in there. It again kind of goes with the theme of feeling a little cheap, whatever. Door cards shake quite a bit every time I close the door already. It's 2018. So yeah. Yeah, so I was a little underwhelmed by the interior, let's put it that way. Let's see here. So this car, it's not tight per se. It's actually, I can drop the seat down to a comically low position. So I actually have, even with the roof up, I'm 6'2". I've got a decent amount of headroom, and I can actually get pretty damn comfortable in here, other than my left knee, which can be bothered by the door card there. I forgot your collar, didn't I? I bet I did. I'm gonna have to buy you another collar. But I cannot believe how tall the doors are on this car. It's absurd. I have never been in a car with taller doors than this thing. It's the door, the top of the door is at my neck. I'm 6'2". Now I can raise the seat, obviously, but then I lose the few inches of headroom that I've got. And that line continues across to the windshield, which has, I mean, I swear to God, I can, from my viewing angle, I can almost touch the top of the windshield and the dash with like this, just by if I could stretch my finger a little bit further, I could touch. The viewing angle is really, really comical in this thing, and that's why I got the convertible. Oh shit, I'm going quite a bit faster than I'm supposed to be going. This car is very, very smooth on the highway. It also gets really pretty decent mileage. But yeah, roof up on this thing, or God, if you were to ever get a hardtop, God help you. It's really comically coffinous in here. You know, and it's not, like I said, it's not like particularly tight. It's just, I'm sure it's for safety reasons that you're really engulfed by solid objects, and there's very little ability to see out of the car, honestly. I mean, the blind spots are horrendous. I think the only car that's got worse blind spots for me is the Challenger, and that might be a scratch, honestly. You know, so I'm cruising along on the highway here. I do tend to often go way faster than I even like to go, because this thing is really, it's actually a really great highway cruiser. It's not even particularly loud in here, even with the dual mode exhaust opened up completely. You know, I'm just cruising along comfortably. I think that this car in particular is a little tired. It's got 76,000 miles on it, and it just feels like the suspension needs a refresh. I wasn't going to do that because I just don't really drive it enough, but it feels like it sort of tram lines a little bit and is a little softer than maybe it should be. I don't know. This does not have the mag ride. I thought it did. It's a 2SS, but I guess mag ride was, I can't remember if it was an option or if it just didn't exist in 2018, but yeah, it feels a little tired. I would probably not look at a higher mileage Camaro again. Side detection. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I will say what's been cool. The whole reason I went for a newer generation LS or LT car was because I wanted all the gadgets. I really wanted to drive this thing distances. So I wanted blind spot monitoring. I wanted Android Auto. I wanted all sorts of fun little gauges and buttons up here, and I got all of them. But you know, alas, I just didn't really drive the car very much. I basically just have to admit at this point that if a car doesn't have adaptive cruise control, I'm just not going to drive it. You know, it's adaptive cruise control just makes any sort of travel in New England leagues and leagues better. Unfortunately, in New England, there's very few open roads anymore, and particularly the highways are just so friggin' congested all the time that it's utterly pointless to try and own a strictly fun car, which is what this is. You know, a stick shift, non-ACC having sort of pure driver's car. Now, I mean, I do live next to Miles Standish State Park, which has like awesome roads, and I would take it for a rip. All right, enough, Jesus. It's so, every single time it wants to tell you something, it gives you this chime. It feels like it's straight out of AOL in 1997. Yeah, anyway. So, you know, I would take it through the park from time to time and have a really good time in it. But honestly, I could have an equally fun time in a $5,000 Mazda Miata or BMW Z3 or whatever. So, yeah. One thing I really appreciated on this, particularly for the convertible, is I love this, the way that they put the vents on this car. Even the side one over here is pretty low. But these are really, really low, and they're actually the adjusters. And that's actually one of the things on here that does feel, the thing itself doesn't feel particularly quality, but the adjustment does. It feels really well bushed, and it feels like a quality thing. I really like that. But I also really like that they put the vents down here. Now, I'm sure that this was not because of the convertible. I think that they did this for all of them. But it makes a lot of sense for the convertible, because if it's very, very hot out or very, very cold out, if the vents are up here, all of the air that you crank out of the heating or cooling system just blows away with the wind and goodbye. But if they're down here, you can actually stay somewhat warm a little bit longer than you would in a convertible with vents up here. And that's really nice, because I honestly, if it's above freezing, I'll throw the top down. I'm not doing that today because it's a really shitty day, and I'm driving distance. But if it were, you know, let's say 50 degrees and, you know, sunny, I would totally have the top down with my little wind deflector back there. Have this crank and heat, have my heated seat on, or let's say it's 100 out. I could crank the AC, have my ventilated seat on, and this thing would do a really good job of keeping me moderately comfortable, you know? I mean, honestly, there's only so much you can do in a convertible. The fact of the matter is you're out in the elements, and that's the point. With this system, it does better than some can do. Engine on this thing is incredible. It's actually almost, obviously it's really the most important. This is the reason you buy a Camaro, right? Incredible. I mean, you know, it doesn't, it's got a relatively short red line. It only revs to, I don't remember if it revs to 6,500 or 7,000, but I think it's 6,500. But you know, it's a naturally aspirated monstrous V8, and it's got loads of power right off the line. It doesn't, you don't rev through the line, the rev range particularly quickly, but you're not lacking in power because of it. I mean, it's got power all the way through the rev range, and at the top of it, honestly, it's borderline enough factory. I think that people dyno these at I don't know, I think I've seen up to 420 horsepower stock on the 6-speed. I think the automatic is a little bit less, but I mean, that's pretty good, honestly, and I was really pleased with it. When I bought it, I had every intention of bringing it over to a tuner and you know, doing headers and a tune, just get a little bit more power out of it, but I just didn't really see it necessary. It's really got borderline enough. It's definitely got enough for back roads, and it's, you know, if you're one of those that likes to hammer it on the highway, getting on the highway, whatever, which is really one of the very few places you can use 450, 500, 600 horsepower. Yeah, I mean, it feels like enough. Combined with the questionable suspension, I was perfectly happy with the power output. I did notice a pull on power and off. If I hammer it, it goes a little bit to the right. And same deal when you let off of it. which is interesting. Again, might be down to tired shocks, but tired shocks should not direct the car in one direction or another, particularly on a car like this. So I don't know. I mean, I Googled it, and I saw some people noticed it, some people didn't. But I noticed it quite a bit. I don't know if this car has like a limited slip or anything, but I mean, just touching the throttle like that, it really shouldn't be engaging a limited slip or a lock or anything anyway. So that was interesting. Yeah, so what else? Yeah, I mean, exhaust sounds fucking awesome from the factory. I mean, it really does. You know, again, I thought about getting straight pipes or whatever for it, but I just didn't deem it necessary. You know, particularly for trade-in values, it's always best if you just leave your shit alone. And that's kind of what I was keeping in mind with this thing. You know, I'd throw $5 grand into it, getting headers and a tune and some other stuff, and I'd really knock the value down by $5 grand. I mean, that's just kind of the way that it goes. So I didn't bother, and it really didn't need it. I mean, it sounds great. It pops and crackles, which is all the rage these days when you're decelerating, and when you get on it, I mean, it's loud. Particularly, it's loud in here, and it's particularly loud if you're behind it, which is nice. That's what this car is supposed to be. I mean, it's supposed to be obnoxious, and it is, while still being relatively comfortable inside. Let's see what else. Oh, one thing I actually love about this car, and thank you GM for doing this. They put in an option. Oh, you know what? Maybe I can't do it when the lights are off. But they put in an option when the headlights are on to, whoops, missed a gear. To basically bring you back to the 90s. It's fucking awesome. I hate driving at night now for two reasons. One, the interior of every car has like a million different screens, most of which are LCDs, so they're backlit, and everything in the car is bright as shit. And then everything outside of the car, because every single car manufacturer has now gotten into a competition with who can make the brighter headlights. It's impossible. I really hate driving at night. Now this thing, what they did, I wish every single car manufacturer would do this. As you turn down the dimmer, it will get to a point where it turns off the ambient lighting, and then if you go a notch or two further, it turns off the screen and brings you only to like the 90s era instrument cluster. You get your mile per hour and you get your RPM lit, and that is it. And I love that. I love that about this car. Driving on twisty back roads at night, being able to see outside of the car is excellent. And I just love the nostalgia of it. You know, it just brings you back to like, I think one of my favorite cars to drive at night used to be just old BMWs, because they were just dimly lit red lights and there was really nothing else, you know, and I really liked that. And I really like that GM did that with this car. Thumbs up. You know, my general review of it, honestly, like if you're a muscle car guy and you live a little bit further away from a city and you're looking for a car that you could really use this thing all the time. I mean, again, the viewing angle is comical, but the comfort's not bad. You know, I mean, when I picked this thing up, I drove it 300 miles right out of the gate, comfortable, you know, and a lot of the time with the top down, you know, and then some portion with it up, and I wasn't bothered at all. I mean, you could totally use this thing all the time. I wouldn't personally, because I have other cars that are automatic, and for mundane driving, I just drive it automatic around, whatever. I mean, my biggest problem now is I live in a town, we're almost right downtown, and if I need toothpaste, it's a 20-second drive. Gotta go to the bank, 20-second drive. I mean, literally a 20-second drive. So there's no real reason for me to get in this thing anymore, which kind of sucks. Other than just driving for the sake of driving. But these days, if you live anywhere near a big city, you know, you get stuck behind a Camry that's going I'm stuck behind a Mitsubishi Outlander that is legitimately going 5 miles an hour below the speed limit on a single lane road with no passing opportunity, and like, that's what happens. So it's not particularly fun right now. I'm just sort of doing mundane driving. But again, if I lived a little bit further away from What are you doing? Holy fucking shit. God, I hate driving. That guy's gonna cause an accident. Yeah, anyway. But if I lived a little further away from the city or near some good roads or, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of congestion where I lived, you could totally daily drive this thing, and they're good, cheap fun. I mean, you could get one of these for easily, now that the car market has crashed, I bet you could get one of these for under 30 in pretty good, in a pretty good state. I mean, it'll be a little bit higher mile or whatever. But honestly, like if I was to sell this thing privately, I'd probably sell it for 30 grand now, you know, and that might be a stretch, honestly. So these are really, really, I mean, what a great value. You get 6.2 liters, 400, like call it 450 horsepower. You can call it that too if you want. For that little money and like this much driving enjoyment, that's pretty great. Now again, I say that as I'm getting rid of it because I don't drive it. I live near, you know, all of my driving is really mundane and relatively short, other than going to work, which is just getting stuck in piles and piles of traffic. So I just have no reason to drive this thing anymore. So I'm getting a daily driver, if you will. I'm going to make my Gladiator my long distance slash boat hauler slash motorcycle hauler vehicle, or slash nice day to flip the top back car. That thing is so easy to drive. I really, really love the modern Jeeps. Obviously they're much different than old Wranglers, but and I own both, so I've got the best of both worlds. So the Gladiator's going to turn into that, and then I'm just getting another electric car. I'll reveal what that is in a later video to be my daily driver. Yeah, so I don't know if I've really got much else to say about it, honestly. Gas mileage is awesome, honestly, for considering what it is. You know, it's again...
Police reported ahead.
Sneaky pig. Yeah, trying to get me, are ya? Trying to get me. It's not gonna happen. But gas mileage is really, really good, again, considering the massive size of it. GM does a really good job getting decent mileage out of these LS, LT motors. Right now, it's staying for my last 25 miles, which have been just casual sort of cruising driving. I'm getting 20 miles per gallon. When gas is down to $3 a gallon, that's actually pretty goddamn reasonable.
Police reported ahead.
Yeah, there you are, you fuck. Excuse me, do you know what you were doing? This must mean you found my television. Yeah, anyway. Mileage is good. I'm cruising along at what I consider a cruising speed in the left-hand lane. And I'm getting 20, which is great. And it's pouring with rain. I got the heat on, you know, I'm not driving particularly efficiently at all. I think that that's great, honestly. Yeah, I don't know that I've got much else to say about it. I mean, another reason I got this car versus like a, you know, a typical two-seater is I have dogs. You can see them, they're back there. They're, I would never torture a human being by putting one of them back there. But dogs, I've got two 20-pound corgis. They love it back there. I can fit their beds. They fit right next to each other, and they're staring at me like, yeah, no, it's pretty good. It's pretty comfy. Pretty comfy back there. Yeah, they're good. Yeah, so I mean, once you decide that you want a four-seater convertible stick shift with power, you're really limited to the Mustang, the Camaro, what else is there? The BMW, like 2 Series, 4 Series, M Series, obviously. And I think Mercedes still makes a C-Class Cabrio, but you can't get that in stick. No way. If they make that in stick, I'd be shocked. But yeah. So, but I think of that group, honestly, this was the best of the lot, minus a real deal M car, you know. But they're stupid money. The M240 that I had, I wouldn't say I hated. I mean, it would have been a great rental car, you know, but like. It wasn't enough for what I was looking for. I'm not a Mustang guy. If I lean anyway, it's towards GM. And I do think I've sat in the Mustangs. I do think the Camaro's better. Nicer interior, and I think that the Camaro looks better. Though the new Mustang looks actually pretty goddamn good. But yeah, I mean, if that's what you're in the market for, or even like, you live in a somewhat less congested area and you just want a fun car to drive every day and make an event, these things are really great. And again, just cruising down the highway, easy peasy right now. Really not a care in the world, getting decent mileage. So these can definitely be a Swiss Army knife for you. Now, if you ever want to bring some shit with you, God help you. The trunk is pretty comically small in the convertible. I can barely fit 2 bags, one for the dogs, one for me, for literally a night. Let alone like my wife's shit, so that just isn't going to happen. But if you get the standard car, not the hard top and not the convertible, you'll have a better time. Yeah, I think that's it. Good car, just not the one for me. So looking around, like, do I have anything else to comment about? I guess I haven't really commented on the handling. I mean, I've just been driving it straight. It handles really, really well, honestly. This is the 2SS, not the 1LE or anything like that. This is just the standard car, and I threw it around Standish, really, really tight roads. It's kind of a big car compared to some of the stuff that would really be ideal for there, which is the really, really small roadsters. But it flew around corners. I mean, it handles really, really good. I don't know what the skid pad is on it, but I bet you it's near a G. I don't think it's over a G. The 1LE probably is, or definitely the fucking ZL1, but I don't think that this is over a G, but it's pretty damn close. It handles really, really nicely. American muscle cars have come a long, long way, minus the Dodge Challenger, well, minus anything made by Dodge, in handling regards. I mean, they really can compete with the European stuff now as far as handling goes. Definitely not as far as interior quality goes. I mean, this is a far, far cry from a BMW or a Mercedes or an Audi or even a Volkswagen or even a quality Japanese brand. Like I don't know what the hell are they, a Lexus. I've never owned one, probably never will. But yeah, it's a pretty far cry. Which is a bummer, because I know that GM is capable of making stuff that's really nice. I mean, I keep looking over in that direction, and I don't think you can see it, but the shiny plastic on the door panels is really bad, really bad. I like the leather up here, but yeah, it's very plasticky and cheap in here. Yeah, so I think that's it. If anybody has any questions about it, I know a decent amount about these cars now. Feel free to ask me. Other than that, thanks for watching. Adios.